you choose your own mind? Do you choose your own body? And do you choose your own life? These are the questions we are going to explore today. Not necessarily easy, fun, or friendly, but I guarantee you, at least in my experience and the people that I work with, it is worth the rumble, my friends. Welcome. I've been counting. Today is lucky number 13. Today is my 13th YouTube Live. We're going to talk about choosing health today. We got some people trickling in. Hello, hello. Welcome. Type in the comments, where are you tuning in from? I'm assuming at this point you can see me and hear me because I've been practicing long enough. I've got a decent enough audio and visual um, degree of effectiveness. Marcus is tuning in from the couch, scratching, licking his own bottom. What's up, gangish? It is great to see you. Hi, Natalie from Montreal, Quebec. J'adore le français. C'est très bien, mademoiselle. I don't even know if you speak French, Natalie. Do you? Because I'm making that up. Margaret, hello. I finally sent you an email. Did you did get it? And now I need to respond. Is it just me? Or is anybody else feeling ever more under the piles of email that exist in the world? Yes, you got it. Yes, you responded. I owe you one back. Does anybody else? Natalie speaks French. That's good. Je voudrais parler français avec toi. Je parlais un petit peu, pas and that's about it. But I sound really good at French, I think, in a very biased way, because my parents were born and raised in Switzerland. So I grew up speaking Swiss and German and a little bit of French. Yay, I am doing just fine. Thank you, Natalie. Marcus is tuning in from the couch. And guess what, friends? We have a little treat for Marcus today. Oh, did you see how interested he's in? Look at this. He is my number one trainer on how to train your own nervous system. He has a new scarf today, my friends. And we have, for his delight and excitement, Better Belly pork hide that is 100% rawhide free. How confusing is that? Like, that's life right there. They tell you it's pork hide, but it's 100% hide free. How many times have you been told something and it wasn't what it was? Which is fine. I don't necessarily need or want my dog to be eating raw hide. But today, Marcus, come on up. We're still learning a new trick. Marcus, up. Come up. He doesn't quite know it yet. I know. Up. Marcus, up. Come here. There's our good boy. Okay, look at his scarf. It's got bones. And he just got groomed yesterday. So he says hello. He is wishing you all some love, some hellos. And we're talking today about choice, choosing health. My name is Dr. Renee Ostertag. I am a licensed physical therapist and an unlicensed psychotherapist in the state of Colorado, specifically in Denver, specifically in the United States. And I'm like a nervous system ninja because I help other people become chief regulators of their own nervous system. And please hear me, we're not meant to regulate our own nervous system alone all the time. We need co-regulators. Marcus is the chief co-regulating officer in this office space. And we need people because life is too hard to do alone. And so it's important that you have safe and supportive people around you and that you stay in community and connection with people like Gangish, like Natalie, like Margaret. Who else is here and where else are you chuming? I keep making up words. Chiming and tuning, if you put those together, you get chuming. Where are you chuming in from, my friends? Marcus is enjoying his treat. I think you can see it there. He's really happy about it. Marcus, how's your non-rawhide hide? Yep, he likes it. Hi, Brent Green. It is good to see you. I am on a stool that sometimes makes its own choices to lower when I don't want it to lower. Isn't that fun? Okay, Brent is here in Denver. We got a few other folks chiming in. Happy, happy, happy to see you today. I have two official disclaimers. Number one, I am human, which means I am imperfect. I am fallible. I am messy. I am biased. And I'm doing my best. So if we could all just operate under that assumption, it makes life easier for everybody. The second disclaimer is that this YouTube Live is strictly educational in nature. It is not medical advice. So if you have a medical need, a healthcare concern that is requiring a healthcare professional, please seek appropriate help. I apologize to those that can hear Marcus slurping, and if you have any sound sensitivities, he's sorry too. I am a licensed healthcare provider, so if you do need and want to have a conversation with me in that regard, you certainly can. Please reach out to my website and schedule a free consult. Last week, we talked about a single choice that you need to make when it comes to your own health, your own body, and your own mind. And I got it from a relationship book that was giving education on how to be successful in relationships with, you know, marriage, long-term partnership. But I can't think of a longer-term partnership than the marriage between you and your own body, between you and your own mind. So I apply a lot of relationship success principles in marriage to relationship success between mind and body. So last week we talked about you have three options. You can choose to reject your own body or mind. You can choose to tolerate your own body or mind. You can choose to reject your own body or mind. And we talked about how, unless you are ready to commit suicide, reject is an option that is taken off the table. So most people have something going on in their world, mind, body, life, and they don't like it and they want to reject it. But unless you're ready to take action in the direction of suicide, not that I'm promoting that, it's your life, you choose. I support you, whatever you do. I would be sad if you did. But unless you're ready to commit suicide, reject is an option that is taken off the table. Fairly Fakil Tawana. It's good to see you. Hello from the UK. Who else is coming in and where are you chiming in from? We talked last week about you can choose and it's necessary to choose if you want health. Do you choose your body? Do you choose your mind? Do you choose your life? And if you don't choose it, you're then left to tolerate it. And tolerating is a short-term comfortable thing because it's familiar, but it is a long-term recipe for suck, for sensational misery in your life. And I know this because I've practiced it for like 32 years on some level. It wasn't until I have been organizing this YouTube life that I actively realized I don't choose my own life. I'm sort of still stuck, but I'm coming out of it. And it's because of this YouTube live. When you choose your own life, when you choose your own health, when you choose your own body, when you choose your own mind, it creates a ripple effect in your nervous system somehow that frees you up. This is so important to me that I have a tattoo on my arm of a little feminine prince, and she made a decision to put her flag in the ground one day and decide to believe that I'm a good person. And it's shifting things slowly but surely. I have a lot of history of just shame and believing I'm not good enough and not worthy. And I made a decision and I put my flag in the ground, no matter what happens, no matter the bad, no matter what people think, no matter the struggle. I'm going to choose to believe that I am a good person. Okay, now we can do this same thing with our health. Can you do a self reflection for a second here and ask yourself this question? There's no good or bad or right or wrong. Do you choose your own body? For many, many people, the answer's maybe got some no in it and some yes in it. The people that don't choose their own body or part of what's going on in their body, that's a struggle and it's real. So, do you choose your body as a whole with all that is in it? And I don't know a ton of people, myself included, that naturally say yes. And that makes me so sad. I want to cry because there's suffering with that. And Awana, you don't choose your own body yet. And I can understand why a lot of people don't, because they're suffering in the condition that is present. And I want to give you an example of a woman that I'm currently working with. And it's a mixed bag of good, sad, happy, bad, all the things like life. This woman is 76 years old. She has had a persistent body health challenge since the age of 16. Okay. So she gets a vestibular BPPV. It's a vertigo that's temporary, but when it comes on, it is disabling like nobody's business. And persistent dizzy conditions, according to the research that I'm aware of, actually have more disability than people with other persistent body pain issues in, say, their neck or their back. Any persistent body condition, A, it affects your mind, and B, runs really similar neurological circuits in that the underlying circuits are threat based, right? When it comes to the nervous system, it's binary, safety or threat, fear or love, right? So when we're looking at neurobiology, her circuits underneath when it came to the vestibular condition were threat fear based. And she's had this thing for 60 years, and it has progressively over the years gotten worse. And she, when she tells the truth about it, which is also an important thing to do, hates her words, fucking body. Okay, I'm trying to cuss less, but there's a time and a place for it. And when you are in that much suffering, sometimes a good F bomb helps articulate the level of your pain. So she absolutely does not choose her body because of what is happening. It's getting worse and worse. She hasn't chosen to reject her body because she's still alive. So that leaves her with tolerating. When we tolerate our body instead of choosing our body, it is a recipe for long term suffering. Joseph Finnegan, speaking of health, what's my opinion of the MMA jab? So I don't think you're talking about mixed martial arts. And I'm totally embarrassed because I don't I don't like to watch a ton of news, and I feel like when you say jab, you're talking about something with, um, I'm assuming COVID. So tell me a little bit. This is embarrassing, and it's public record now. Everybody's going to know that I think an MMA jab is a mixed martial artist's jab, but I don't know if it is. Maybe it is. Maybe you're talking about punching. There's something on my desk that I need to go. So Joseph, tell me what you're talking about. Okay. For those of you that don't know, I'm trained in improv. And I am a clinical scientist, and I strive every day as much as possible to seek out the objective truth through using the scientific method. I'm with this woman. She's suffering. She doesn't choose her body. She's tolerating it. She hasn't rejected it. And she's not getting better. She's getting worse. But I know that my belief system tells me everything I know about humans is that we're wired to heal. We have the capacity to heal, like hashtag healing happens. And yet it hasn't happened for her. Why? What is going on? So I do improv, and Neil deGrasse Tyson has this thing about the scientific method. You will do whatever it takes to find the objective truth. And I was sitting in despair with this woman for, 60 years. She's not getting better. And she's not getting better. Why? Right? Why isn't she able to live into that objective truth that healing happens? And this ding hit me out of my own right brain. And it was like, it's because of her relationship with these crystals in her inner ear. So I pull out these little things here. They're sitting on my little table in between, and they're just like three little stars. And I don't even know where I got them. I think somebody gave them to me. And I said, okay, Susie, that's not her name. I'm just making it up. Okay, Susie, let's do a little improv. And she likes fun and play. And that's part of why she's so mad. She wants to like go live life and go kayaking in the ocean in Mexico. So I said, let's pretend they are your crystals and let's have a conversation. I said, your truth is safe here with me. I said, I would really like to know the truth. How do you feel towards these crystals? And let's have a dialogue with them. And she just went tense and tight and said, I freaking hate you. And I think that's great. I think that's valid. I think that's fair. She's hating something that's going on. And I totally went into character as an improv actor, performer. And I said, "Oh, we're so sorry. We don't mean to be causing, we're so sorry. We're so sad." And I like, wow, went into big character because it's like, we don't want to be hurting you. We don't want to be harming you. We just don't know any better. Creation coach, good to see you. I'm doing some improv and I'm playing the character of crystals in a woman's ear that had vestibular problems. And she looked shocked when she heard the perspective of the crystals that they don't want to be causing her problems. They don't want to be making her miserable. And it's an interesting thought. The whole point of today that I haven't even said yet, the number one obstacle to why people can't choose health, they can't choose their own body, which leads to health. The number one obstacle to that is that they assume negative intent. It's the whole point of all of what I'm saying. Pretty much when your body or mind is having a challenge in its health, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that you're assuming on a level that you're probably not even aware of that it's like out to get you. Like your body's betraying you. Like it wants you to be miserable. It wants you to be unhappy. Newsflash, folks, it doesn't. It doesn't want to be betraying you. It doesn't want to be hurting you. It doesn't want to be harming you. It does not want to make you miserable. It's miserable too. Your body is wired to be healthy. Your mind is wired to be healthy, but it's blocked from accessing those circuits because you're wanting to reject it, but you can't. So you tolerate it. And like, how would you feel in a relationship if somebody was just sort of hanging out with you because they had to and they weren't choosing you? Like, think about that for a second. Have you a desire to hang out with somebody that's like, yeah, you're right. I don't really like you, but okay, fine. Come along. Like, think about that. How would you feel? So she's in this conversation with these crystals, and a light bulb goes off for her. She's like, I have been hating these crystals in my ear. So then she naturally gets tense because that's what we all do. That's not a character flaw. She's tense about these crystals. My chair is sinking down, folks. It's making its own decisions. How many times in life is your body making its own decisions without your consent or control? Luckily, I can change it. You can change it in your body too. That's why we're having this conversation. So she makes a choice to say, you know what? Maybe it's true. I've hated these crystals and I've just like not even thought about how I felt towards them or how they felt towards me. We had this whole beautiful conversation where me acting in a weird way. Well, it's just improv, right? Like I'm playing the role of her crystals, going, we don't want to be out of the casing in your ear either, but you get so tense. We get lost. We get out of the place that we're supposed to be in. These crystals are supposed to be in. They get out, and then you tense up and block them from getting back home. They're like, we don't want to be lost. We don't want to be home, out of our home. And if you would just relax, we could naturally find our way back in. Oana, oh my gosh, have you read that book? She's saying No Bad Parts is a book by Dick Schwartz. And it's I love Dick Schwartz. He hugely informs my work, internal family systems, game changing modality that I sort of stumbled on in my own imagination and mind and told my therapist about it. She's like, do you know about internal family systems? I was like, no. There's a whole world inside of you. Inside Out is the best Disney Pixar movie to depict this. So, picture this woman with her crystals, and it's this part inside of her, and she hates them. And they're like, we just want to be friends. But she keeps like rejecting them, but she can't reject them because they're a part of her. So she tolerates. And so she leans into choosing the possibility that maybe they don't have an underlying bad intention. So that's the key to being able to choose. I'm sorry I'm a bit long-winded today on this. Like I didn't get to this whole point sooner. If you want to successfully be able to choose your own body health, I think you need to be able to assume positive intent. Scott Lee, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're listening. I love getting to see repeat folks. It's amazing. Inside Out is a good one. Yes, Margaret. Um, um, by the way, I'm thinking about changing this time. I don't know. I'm not married to 10:30. If you have a time that you would love for me to consider to do my weekly lives, put it in the chat. I'm glad you're listening, Scott, and everybody else that's here. We're talking about how to choose body health instead of tolerate your body or your mind or to choose it. And in order to be able to choose it, you have to be able to assume positive intent. This woman 3 months ago, we had this conversation with her crystals. She had always been assuming negative intent, that they were like bad parts, right? Like they were misbehaving, they were out and they shouldn't be, and they like were like happily gallivanting around her inner ear. That wasn't the case. Like they have a place in the body that they belong and they want to be there. And when she chose to accept that they weren't out to get her, she's assuming positive intent. This woman, I kid you not, she's like, I never realized. I always thought they were bad. I always thought they were like out to get me. She's like, they don't want to be home either. out of their home either. Can you hear how my voice shifts and softens? That's exactly what happened in her musculature, in her neurological circuits. And I kid you not, since we had that conversation, it's been 3 months and she has not had an episode of dizziness. It's a profound case study, right? She's 76. She's had progressive worsening dizzy episodes for 60 years. So to go 3 months without an episode of dizziness is profound, right? So if we want to choose our body, which leads to health, tolerating your body will keep you stuck in misery. Choosing your body, there is a necessary prerequisite to be able to assume positive intent. Don't hear me say that this is easy because I don't think it is. I think it's actually really hard, but it's a seed that we're planting. Does this come across as like impossible to do? When you hear me say, do you choose your body? Does that feel impossible? What does it bring up for you? Give me some feedback. I think in some contexts, it's probably easy, and in others, it's really hard. My dad died a couple years ago now in 2021, so a year and a half ago. And I remember on one of my last visits with him, he was just this like happy 82-year-old guy, and he wasn't always that way, my friends. Um, that's a whole other story. He and I were sitting on the couch talking, and he had this episode of tinnitus come up, right? Ringing in the ears. And he just starts laughing and he's like, kind of like jolted in a confused state. He's like, "What? What's that? Somebody's talking to me. Somebody's trying to get my attention." Like he had a natural reaction of surprise and then curiosity. That is an example of assuming positive intent. He has a ringing in his ears and he assumes, "Oh, somebody's trying to talk to me." Whatever that is. It was really sweet. A lot of people suffer for a long time with tinnitus to the point of suicide. They choose to reject their body because the tinnitus is going on and on and on and on and on and on and on for years. I would go out on a limb to assume that the tinnitus started because they had an opposite to my father reaction, not a character flaw. Some new sensation will often elicit fear for people. And that fear can encode itself into our hippocampus and long term memory in 3 seconds flat. So, if my dad had had that sensation and then got afraid, the tinnitus probably would have lasted a whole lot longer. Assuming positive intent. My dad assumed positive intent. Somebody that has tinnitus or whatever it is, physical condition that stays for years, it's probably because underneath there was an underlying assumption of this is bad, this is wrong, I'm not going to be able to deal with this, this is not okay. And that wiring, that response to that sensation can wire itself in 3 seconds flat. Let's see. Scott Lee. Oh, it's been taught not to control our own fate. Ugh. Scott, I'm totally. Who taught that? That's what I would love to hear from you. Who taught you that? Or who do you think teaches all of us that? I'm really curious to know, actually. Ugh, powerlessness, helplessness, those are real chokeholds on our livelihood. So, Scott, give me some feedback when you can, because I'd love to hear that. Change your body, and your mind and spirit will follow. Thank you for that, Brent. Dr. Mark Crooks. You, Brent, are just the best at quotes. It's awesome. Change your body and your mind and spirit will follow. Absolutely. I think you can change your mind and your body and spirit will follow. I think you can change your spirit and your mind and body will follow. There's so many ways to get to Rome. Like, change something. But that's the key, is that we can change and it starts with a choice. And I think we need to have that underlying positive intention that whatever's bad isn't here because you did something wrong or because life's out to get you, your mind is out to get you, your body's out to get you. It's here because it's what life does. It includes things that feel bad. How do you want to respond to that? Do you want to choose, okay, this bad thing is happening. I don't like it. What do I want to do with it? Do you want to choose, this bad thing is happening? What's the underlying good about it? Where's the good in this for me? Where's what gift and opportunity can emerge from it? Awana. It would have been harder to accept before learning about IFS, but I've since then become aware of how powerfully a single thought can affect the body. It is so true. I can have a thought and um, I can create back pain. Not, I don't know if that's an intentional thing or just the thought is so linked up to an emotional motor program that affects the muscles in my back, which affects the blood flow in my back, which affects the perception of safety or threat in my back. And it's linked up to threat. Real or perceived doesn't matter. I will have pain. It's the same in my gut. I can create all kinds of havoc with bloating and constipation and diarrhea with a thought. Awana, tell me something about what kind of thoughts work for you or what kind of thoughts don't. I'd love to hear more about your experience with how thoughts affect the body. Oh, Scott, tinnitus is an old friend of mine. Working on letting it go. As a musician, it gets to be troublesome. Validate that totally. I would be so curious if at any point in time you want to do a little improv conversation like I did with the woman, literally 60 years of vertigo. It's interesting what can come up when you start having conversations with circuits inside of yourself. And Scott, is it unreasonable to think that perhaps there's an underlying positive intent of your tinnitus? I'm dealing with a relationship that's challenging for me right now and trying to find the underlying positive intent. Like, why has life given me this challenge? What's the underlying positive intent? It's a tricky one. And it's not like, oh, there's the answer, especially if it's been around for a while. It can take some rumbling. Scott, do you think you can control your own fate with this tinnitus? There's a good question. I don't know. It's a tricky one, right? We need to accept things, but you want to let it go. How do you accept and let go at the same time? Welcome to paradox, my friends. There's no clean answers. Oh, and that's why I think we need to co-regulate with people like this. These tricky life situations are often too big for one nervous system to metabolize. And if we've had a problem for a long time, we're only able to see it in so many ways. And sometimes another person coming in can see it in a way that we hadn't considered before. And it can give us access to new neurological circuits, which gives us access to new perspectives, which gives us access to new physiology. Creation coach, letting go of labels that were put on yourself by others, including parents, school system, religious system. That's me. Creation coach, letting go of labels that were put on yourself by others and finding the appreciation that allows the positive intent to circulate, support yourself, and detach from external prodding. What does supporting yourself look like for you? That's a curious thing because I know people that are in these like kind of long term abusive relationships, and enabling can get mistaken as support. And I think it can be similar in our body. Like doing something different is uncomfortable, but sometimes the very thing that is the least comfortable is the most supportive for you to do in your own system. Mm. Owana, my most fascinating experience was an IFS meditation where, after working with a part that was angry and giving, my whole body suddenly went from tense and frozen to relaxed and warm. I can feel it. Oh, it's cozy. Makes me want to just stretch, right? Like, let's stretch out of these old paradigms where we can't choose, we can't change. And oftentimes we get stuck there, and that's real and that sucks. But that doesn't mean it has to be the way it always is. Assume positive intent. Whatever's wrong or bad in your mind or body, consider that possibility that maybe there's an underlying positive intent for why it is present in your world right now. And consider making a choice to put your own flag in the ground and choose to accept your body, even with what's going on, and get curious about what could the underlying positive intention be. That is the message for today. Giving it the attention and care it needed is what let Fairly Felt move from tense and frozen to relaxed and warm, giving it the attention and care it needed. Many times, problems in our life, mind, body need attention and care. And the more we can assume there's an underlying positive intent, the more we can choose to give it the attention and care that it needs. And that is what leads to health, my friends. So, do you want to choose your body? Do you want to choose your mind? What does this bring up for you? What questions do you have? What thoughts do you have? What reflections do you have? I want to hear from you, my friends. I like being here with you. So tell me, what does this bring up for you? I will totally tell the truth. When I first asked myself, do I choose my own life? It's like, hell freaking no. Fuck no. And that's coming from a very red place inside of me. Like, have you seen my problems and my challenges? And they're real. I don't mean to be making fun of myself, but it's like, no, I don't choose it. And it made me think about a time where my dad was dying. He's in the hospital, and I'm with my sister, and was just in a real world of hurt. Oh, Brent, you choose wellness in all its ramifications, man. Notice the power that comes along with that. I'm choosing life. I'm choosing health. Even though it has ramifications, I still choose it. I still choose it. There's power in that leads to health, my friends. Maybe not right away, but if you keep choosing over time and looking for the underlying positive intent, you'll get there. So my dad's dying. I'm at the hospital with my sister, and she tells me this story about a man talking to God. Now, for me, Define God however you want. I love Joseph Campbell's definition. God is the name that we give to all that we don't understand. So that's what I mean when I say the word God, but please use it or don't, however you feel most comfortable with. And so this man's talking to God. He's like, God, my life sucks. It's terrible. All these bad things. Can't I just have a different one? And God says, absolutely. No problem at all. Come with me. And so they leave the room of that guy's life and they enter this hallway, and there's all these doors and all these choices. And God says, okay, let's walk into this room. And so God opens the door. God looks around at that life. He's like, oh, no, no, don't want that one. Okay, no problem. Shuts the door, walks down the hall, opens another door. God shows him the room. And the guy's like, yeah, I don't like that one either. Like, it's got all these bad things and all these problems. Okay, no problem. Shuts the door, goes to a third room. Same thing, room after room after room. He doesn't like it. And the guy says to God, you know what? I want to go back to my own life. And what the guy realized is that every life has problems, every life has challenge, every body has challenge, every mind has challenge. And I think we have an entire life to figure out how to cope and navigate and adapt. And once you start to learn your problems, you develop your own skills for dealing with those. And that's what life is. It's a series of changing circumstances, and we can choose to adapt or not. We can choose to choose what's there. And I love this idea of assuming positive intent, that all these crappy, bad, just shitty feeling things are here, but I'm going to choose them anyway, because on some level, I'm going to be willing to believe that they are here to shape me for my highest good. Now, this sounds a bit rainbow, unicorn, airy fairy, but you know what? It makes me feel better. And at the end of the day, we live lives that have a lot of things we don't know and understand, and we can choose, how do we want to feel in it? What do we want to make up? What do we want to believe? I'm talking a lot. Nobody's giving me feedback. I'm getting used to this. It's okay. You all are here. I'm glad you are. If you would like to give me some sort of feedback on what you're taking away from this, I would love it. Maybe together we can choose on some level to choose our own body. Maybe on some level we can choose to choose our own mind. There's power in choosing together, my friends. You can join the power on my arm, on my tattoo. I'm going to choose, even though it's hard and sucks sometimes. It's been great hanging out with all of you today. Choose, assume underlying positive intent. And if there's a better time on YouTube Live, let me know. I'm happy to keep that into consideration. And what else do I want to say to wrap up here? I feel like I'm missing something. Creation coach. I can't say I know a way that works for all, but each person has to identify that they have to choose something. It's true. And so often we're loyal to things in our nervous system that we don't know we're loyal to, and it may or may not be serving us. For example, I didn't want to go here today, and here I am. I was raised Catholic, and there's still some things that I didn't realize I was choosing in that belief system that is holding me back. Shame, guilt, etc. Oh, thank you for the feedback. Fairly verkehrt. You're just realizing how I'm taking my body for granted instead of being its ally. I'm treating it poorly and not helping. What a beautiful, beautiful recognition. And here's what makes me feel hopeful and touched is that most people's bodies are pretty darn forgiving and quite extraordinarily resilient. Like, if I could just imagine that I was your body right now, it would just want to give you a big hug and say, I love you. And I'm so glad for you. And I'm here to serve you. And I'm here to help you. The amount of times I've had that come out of the mouths of other people that I work with when they start having these body mind conversations, like the body loves you and it wants you to know that. It wants you to know that you're loved, that you're safe, that you're seen, that you're precious, that you're held. And it's giving you all these messages because it doesn't communicate in the same way that you do. And it struggles too because it wants to be able to be on the same page as you. It wants you to know something about your life and it's trying to communicate that to you. And the more we assume that it has a negative intention instead of a positive one, it's so much harder to hear that. Oh, Scott Lee, thank you. You reflect, you let me know. I'm here if you want to have a conversation about anything. And I PHUQING rock. I really, really like that. I fucking rock, spelled beautifully and delightfully so. Brent Green, my voice, spontaneity, self disclosures, intentions. I appreciate you. Creation coach. Yeah, I owe you an email as well. What have you been loyal to? Oh my God, that just makes me realize in this moment how loyal I have been to misery and suffering as a martyr and a victim that just look at me and how helpful I am and nobody appreciates me. I'm super loyal to that one. It's kind of disgusting me right now and not surprising why I have gut issues sometimes. My friends, it's real. What have you been loyal to? Do you want to keep choosing that? And maybe there's a positive intention to it that once upon a time served you well. And it may or may not continue to serve you. And maybe that's its positive intent is like, hey, can we change flavors? Anyway, my friends, it's been great to hang out with you today. Next time, I'm going to be going through another case study of a woman who is struggling on how to live into the expression of her choosing, right? So she's choosing her body, but like, how do I actually do that? What does that actually look like? Natalie, thank you so much. I'm glad you like the material and the vibe. It's been great to have you here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the winky face, the green heart, and the infinity. I think about the infinity a lot, actually. That middle point is the body. There's our past, there's our future. And it's like filtering through our nervous system in the moment of now. Now, nervous system observed waves. Woo! And the waves that we have here affect how we look at and experience both our past and our future. Natalie, je t'adore. I don't know if that's professionally or personally okay to say, but I like you. I'm glad you've been here. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Oh, that's funny. Fairly Verkehrt is loyal to the same things and gut issues too. You and me, two peas in a pod, my friend. Je t'adore aussi. Merci, Nathalie. Sharon, I know it's cool, right? The infinity symbol. That one came out from I was working with a patient and it just, oh, this is a sidebar. I was going to end and now I'm going to keep talking. But the infinity symbol story was really cool because I was talking to this woman. I'd been working with her fairly consistently for like 2 or 3 years. She had a devastating traumatic event after 35 years. Her husband just left the marriage. Totally unexpected on her end. And she had all sorts of health problems and couldn't find any kind of joy. And her blood pressure, her gut, her heart, she was having all these problems, neck pain, shoulder stuff, pelvic floor stuff, like, oh, terrible. So after about 3 years, she was able to find peace with her past. So, right, we've got that infinity symbol. She's here now. And I was talking to her and I could see her having safety circuits while talking about the past. And she was like calm and relaxed in her body. And like, yes, this happened, but I still have these other things, and was just in a lot of acceptance. But then she started talking about the future and went totally tense, anxious, like red circuits inside of her. And then she started looking at her past differently. It was so wild. And so it was like, here was green in the past, here was red in the future. And then when she did another loop on the past, it turned red because the future. So the way we look at things is influenced highly by the nervous system observed waves in the now. So, Sharon, I'm glad you like that infinity symbol interpretation. This has been, as always, fun, delightful. If you have any feedback for me, thoughts on how I can make these things even more better, even more fun, if you have any specific questions or topics or thoughts, let me know. Send me an email, info@greentreemind.com. Remember to assume positive intent, my friends. Great to see you, and we will return next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye bye.